All right, did you take a little bit of time and review those vowels? It takes a while. It takes a while to get the hang of them, particularly keeping your mouth looser than you normally would, right? And I say sing like you speak, but in reality, we don't really speak that well sometimes. And so if you have trouble with your speech, then maybe don't rely on that. Maybe allow your singing voice to help teach you a little bit better speech patterns. It kind of works both ways, kind of cross-pollinates that way. Derek Johnson, the choral director and arranger extraordinaire, started a group called Regeneration, which was a Christian contemporary a cappella vocal group. And he also trained the Voices of Liberty for many years down at Disney Epcot Center. Just an incredible man. And he gave me some of his time a number of years ago. This is probably 16 years ago now. He gave me some of his time in a phone conversation as we talked about vowel formation and just blend and tone and all these different things. And I really have always appreciated that. But he has in his material vowel modifications. And these vowel modifications take the 5 Italian vowels that we go through and really shows what they get modified into, such as sit, and sit. Don't make it too okay? That's harsh here. Don't fool yourself into thinking that harsh is resonance. Okay? There's a difference between the two. Resonance is and harsh is trying to drive it from here. But there's draw is still dropped, and you just kind of lightly form it. There is as in set. In fact, watch this, how many vowels I can form with the same mouth position and just slightly moving the tongue, just barely enough to accomplish it. I mean, I'm hardly moving, just barely enough to give the impressions. But that's set, tip of the tongue behind the bottom teeth, and the tongue is just moved a little bit. In fact, you can kind of move your, you can let your tongue kind of hang out a little bit. We've got as in sat. And that you can get by going a little bit wider if you want to. Okay, you can go a little bit wider. Then we've got as in turn. Turn. And that ends up in kind of a diphthong. What's a diphthong? A diphthong is a word, vowels, 2 vowels that make up a word, like I. Okay? Oh, I got punched in the eye. I got punched in the eye. Okay? The key with diphthongs is wait on the diphthong till the end. Don't gradually change it unless you're purposely trying to do that. But I got punched in the eye. Hear how I stretch that diphthong out? You don't want to do that. Okay? You want to keep it pure until the very end. I got punched in the eye. At the very end. That's a horrible song. It's very painful for me personally. I got punched in the eye. It's a terrible, terrible song. But here's we say I a lot in our music. We say you. Even you is you. You. Now that one you want to get through the diphthong right at the beginning, right? I love you. Right? So you don't want there's that first diphthong, right? I love you. You don't want you. Right? Just go right to the vowel that defines that word. Pray is another one that pray, pray. At the very end, hear that? I'll pray again. I attach that right to the Y. I attach the Y right to the of again. I'll pray again. Now it moves pretty quickly, so maybe you don't notice it as much, but I certainly don't go, I'll pray again. I'll pray again. No, I'll pray again. At the very end, I put it in there. I really shouldn't even move my jaw a little bit, but I'm going to close with a secret about these vowels. But when you practice them and you become familiar with them and you know how to form these vowels, then you can compromise a little bit in order to be understandable or more accessible. So the difference here between singing in an operatic style, because really what I'm teaching is traditional Italian vowel formation. These are, I, O, all that very dropped jaw. You would get this in a lot of places, actually, but here's the kind of the secret. Two things. First of all, is that as you get higher up in the range, it takes less manipulation. I mean, there shouldn't be much manipulation in the first place, but you just give the impression of the vowel and stay as open as possible. Okay? Not spread open. I mean, as drop jaw as possible. Yes, yes, yes. Okay? So, but the second part is kind of my little secret sauce here, and that is to make the sound more accessible, I will form the vowel and then widen it just a little bit. Just a little bit. So it's more accessible to people. So if I'm singing... I'm not going to sing it. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound. All right, technically it's pretty good as far as vowels concerned, but I want to smooth it out so that the average person can identify with it more. So what I do is I compromise on those vowels without losing touch of how they're formed. That's the key. Because you can lose yourself in this. But I cast my anchor down on the proper formation of vowels, and then I allow my ship to drift a little bit, still being anchored. So, amazing grace. See that? See how I added a little bit of a smile. Amazing grace, how sweet. There it is, right there. Instead of sweet, it's sweet. I just sweeten it up a little bit. I sweeten everything up in the mid-range. Now that right there, I'm just going to tell you, traditional purist teachers might say, oh, you can't do that ever. But listen, we live in the real world, and the plain truth of the matter is that most of the people that you're going to be singing to, unless you're in that closed, traditional, operatic, classical environment, they're going to even be put off a little bit by sounding too operatic. So we use the classical technique. We use that vowel formation as our core, but then we paint it just a little bit. We sweeten it up a little bit, okay? It's kind of like adding a little bit of sugar in. Now maybe in our food it's probably not good for us, right? But as far as helping our tone be palatable, we can sweeten it just a little bit. So, that saved a wretch. That's still formed correctly, but it's just a little bit wider. It's not incorrect technique. People used to be concerned about what's the correct technique. Proper technique. Well, I'll have you know that now on the cutting edge of technique teaching, it's not so much about what is proper, it's about what is healthy. We've got country singers, pop singers, rock singers, jazz singers, classical singers, operatic singers. We've got all kinds of different stuff going on today, and they cross-pollinate. So you've got all kinds of different styles that really didn't even exist even 20 years ago. You can't tell me that there's only one correct way of singing and everything else is subpar. No, there's certainly things you can do to hurt your voice, but we ought to have the ability to sing in all those different styles in a healthy way. Now, I personally don't do any rock styles. It's not in my purview, and I'm not really interested in that. Okay? But the point is, and my teacher, Mrs. Pike, told me years ago, that this is the kernel, this is the foundation of all good singing. It's healthy singing. So this little bit of a more, it's a little bit shallower. It's not quite as long. It's not quite as deep. And but as I go up higher, I know to go back to that so I can hit those notes, so that I can reach for those. I don't even like using that term, reach, right? But so I can float around up there and not hurt myself. But then when I come down into that mid-range, I sweeten the sound a little bit. So that's a little bit of my secret sauce there I'm giving you on these vowels. Form the vowels correctly, learn how to do it right, and then you can shade it back. What's happening now is we got a lot of people that just sing really wide all the time. And it's like this all the time. Then they wonder why they get vocal fatigue and they can't go high and all these things. Well, listen, you got to learn to do those vowels that healthy way, and then you can shade them and then return to neutral. See? So hopefully this is helpful to you. A lot of stuff I've thrown at you here. But remember, let's review. Vowels are like the clothesline. A-I-O, all the way across, right? Amazing grace, how sweet the sound. Connecting them. Making sure we're dropping that jaw. Amazing grace, how sweet. And then at the very end, if we want to sweeten it up a little bit, we can add a little bit of a smile here. A little bit of a smile, a little bit of a sweetness to the tone. Amazing grace, how sweet. And we still are healthy, and we can really make our music sound great.